Budget is always important no matter what project you do. Budget is always a consideration. But if budget is the most important consideration for the client, if that's all they're focused on, and they just want the cheapest or least expensive possible service, then we're not going to be a good fit for that client.
Welcome to the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. My name is Todd Dawalt. That's spelled D-A-W-A-L-T, and I'm your host. And we are all about helping construction business owners have more freedom, impact, and wealth by systematizing your construction business. Think self-managing company, a business that runs without you. Here's what you're going to get from today's episode. This is an interview with Dan Flansburg. He's the owner of Flansburg Construction in New Jersey. We talk about the business case for saying no to the wrong projects and clients. Dan talks about how a misalignment of values helped him know it was time to start his business back in 2011 and how he made that transition. We talk about how to maximize referrals from your ideal clients. Dan also talks about how he went through a couple of versions of his business before he arrived at his current approach and what those other versions were and why they didn't work so well. Dan talks about why he joined our Systematize Your Construction Business program and what it has done for his team and his business. You may be surprised to hear how his team has responded to the program. And if you think your projects are too unique and custom to have a documented process to follow, you'll definitely want to stick around and hear Dan's advice for you. So without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Dan Flansburg, owner of Flansburg Construction. Enjoy. All right, Dan, welcome to the podcast. How's it going today?
It's going pretty good. Now it's a normal Monday.
Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your business, what type of work you do, where you're located, and I think that'll be a good starting point.
So the name of the company is Flansburg Construction. Currently, we are a design, build, remodeling company located in New Jersey, central New Jersey area, right around like the Hamilton/Princeton area. We're mostly doing kitchens, bathrooms, additions, and a lot of stuff in between, but we try to stay focused on those three areas. We have in-house kitchen and bath design, and then we outsource some architecture and things like that. So
how many employees do you have on your team?
Including me, there are 11 currently.
About how long have you been in business?
We've been in business since September of 2011, so we just celebrated 13 years. Yeah, when we started off, it was just me, my pickup truck, my tools, and, but not wanting to work for somebody else anymore.
When you decided you didn't want to work for somebody else, and when you decided to go out on your own? Early on in my career, I spent time working with my father for about 5 or 6 years, and he was a great craftsman. We did really nice work. We had great clients. He was self-admittedly, he's retired now, but self-admittedly, he was a terrible business person. So we never really made any money. So at that point, I knew I didn't want to go out on my own yet. I knew I had a lot to learn. So I went and worked for a few other companies. A couple of the companies were very good. The last one I worked for was not so good. And as soon as I got there, I said to myself, okay, it's time to start thinking about going out on my own. And in the midst of all of that, working for other companies, I'd gone to school for like construction project management, learned a little bit how to estimate, and just kind of tried to get some of those back end things and business things in place before going out on my own. So I didn't completely just fail right off the bat. What were those things that made it not good? One of the big things was just the values of the owner, and my values did not line up at all. It's not a local company to me here. It was on the other side of the state. We didn't align on values. We did some decent projects, but there were times when I was asked to do things that I was not willing to do just because I didn't feel that they were right. Let's talk about that, the transition. A lot of people wonder, how do you make the jump from being an employee to starting your own business. So questions like, how did you get your first project? How did you know when it was time to quit? How did you make that transition? So can you talk us through that transition back in mid 2011 as you transitioned from being an employee to running your own business?
I had a lot of contacts out there, and a lot of friends and family knew what I did for a living. So, I put the word out there, hey, I'm going out on my own. That was before the days of, where social media was really big. I mean, social media was around, but it definitely wasn't what it is now. So basically just put the word out there, had a few smaller jobs lined up for friends and family. Didn't have a ton of capital to start off, but knew that I didn't want to borrow money or anything like that right off the bat either. So I already had every tool you could possibly want. So that part of it, I had kind of figured out. It was really just, I started off with small projects and just kind of built off of that, did a few of those, and then got some word of mouth referrals from those. And then, eventually within after the first year, I had enough work just from word of mouth referrals that I was able to hire my first employee.
A lot of people struggle with going from doing everything themselves to managing people and focusing on the process instead of doing all the work. What were some of the challenges or the roadblocks that you ran into as you started to get out of the field and go from doing the work to managing the process?
That transition, so from 2011 up until about, I guess, mid 2016, I pretty much stayed the same size, where it was me, and I did have up to two other field guys, but it was just me, two other guys. I did all the selling and estimating at night on the weekends, and then physically was on the jobs during the day. So somewhere around 2016, I kind of said, I started to get burned out a little bit and said, all right, there's got to be a better way where I can transition to more of a business owner, somebody that's running the business rather than the tactician that's out there performing the work. So that's where I really started to dig into looking at, hiring somebody to manage the production side of things, somebody to manage the projects. So 2018 or 17, 18, 19, I kind of went through a few different versions of, kind of flopped around a little bit as far as a few versions of what that looked like. I think right around 2019, 2020 is where I started to focus a little more and started to look at, doing more of the design build thing versus just bid and build.
You said you went through a few versions. I'm curious, what were some versions that you tried that you figured out didn't work for you?
One version in particular was, at one point I had way too many field staff for the size projects we were doing. So we were self-performing pretty much everything. And it became too hard to track everything. My estimating wasn't accurate. So at that time, I wasn't really doing estimated versus actual. But when you looked back, it was kind of like, okay, I've got some employees here that are making more money than I am. So yeah, there was definitely some. I was overloaded with staff. I think at that point I was doing about a third of the volume I'm doing now, and had the same number of people that I have now.
Loading up on staff, self-performing everything, that version didn't work. What was another version that you tried that didn't work for you?
When we started doing the design build thing, we do a lot of the design in-house, but we do that both ways, where we outsource some design now and then we do some of it internally. So it seems like a good balance where, if we have to turn up the volume a little bit, we can, instead of hiring somebody new, we can outsource some of that for now. Maybe later on we will add more, but there are times we we outsource that. So the same kind of principle as with the production side of things. You got to be careful that you don't overload and have too many employees for what your company can handle.
Yeah, it's definitely easy to grow, get top heavy, especially on the overhead side, get too much overhead. Then you tend to lose focus and you have to chase work just to feed this monster. And I've been there. I speak from experience. So it's easy to hire somebody, then go have to get more work to keep them busy. And then it just seems like you create this monster that is just never satisfied. So I'm curious, it seems like you've settled in on the design build approach. Why do you feel like that works so well for you?
There's a few different reasons. One reason being I think it's overall, it ends up being better for the client, especially the clients that we're trying to work for. They don't have a ton of time to run around, hire their own architect, hire their own interior designer, then try and find a contractor to perform the work. And then somebody has to bring all of those pieces together. So the service that we provide, we do it all. We manage that whole process for them. And it just, do we do some of the bid and build? Yeah, once in a while we'll bid on a project, but for the most part, we're just, we're meeting with a client, a potential client, looking at the overall project, asking a bunch of questions to see if we're a good fit for them, if they're a good fit for us. And then if they are, then we can enter into a pre-construction agreement, project development agreement, whatever you want to call it. And then within that agreement, we're getting paid for our time. And then we're also able to really dig into the details of designing and developing their project, however that's going to take shape.
For the folks out there who are still doing free estimates, what would you say are the biggest problems that are caused by free estimates that they may not be aware of? I think most people would say, yeah, I'm spending 20 hours a week or more, 80 hours a month doing free estimates, spending time on projects that don't go anywhere. But what are some of the maybe not so apparent problems that are caused by free estimates?
If you're doing a free estimate, I think by definition, it's more prone to be inaccurate because you're not able to really spend the time that you need to in order to figure things out. And especially with residential projects that have vague scopes of work where maybe somebody didn't develop a very detailed scope of work yet. So your idea of that scope of work and my idea of that scope of work may be completely different. And, if you have trade partners that you're using, you might get one price from a mason that may be 50% higher than the next mason. So unless you go through those steps to really, to not only get accurate material pricing, but also bring trade partners out, if it's remodeling, you have to you can have a really detailed set of drawings, but you have to physically look at it too to see existing conditions. So there's so many things that can go wrong if you're not looking at, and even the process we go through, it's not perfect. So doing that all for free it's mind boggling. And yeah, I used to do all that for free.
Let's talk about your ideal client. It sounds like you have a pretty clear picture of who you want to work with. How did you go about honing in on your ideal client?
One way we did was just get the whole team together, go through past projects, look and see, which ones went well, which ones did everybody enjoy, which ones didn't go so great, and kind of, draw a picture from them to see what are we good at, because you can't be good at everything. You can't be good at every type of project. So for instance, the smaller projects, like going to install a door and a window at somebody's house. We're not efficient at those types of projects at this point. So we've learned that to just refer them out to somebody else. And in turn, sometimes we get referrals from other companies, go back, take a look, see what went well, see what didn't, and then look at those clients. And it may be most of the people that we work for are professional and very busy, so they don't want to deal with having to talk to 3 or 4 different people in order to make their project happen. They want to just talk to us and let us handle all of the day-to-day details.
I want to talk about how you filter out the not so great clients, your less than ideal clients. Some people might call them the drama queens, the crazies. But one of the benefits of having a pre-construction services agreement is you get to work with these people and find out if they are who they really are. What are some of the characteristics or red flags that you guys look for either in the sales process or early on that tell you, maybe we should refer these people on to somebody else, that they're not a great fit for us?
I mean, obviously everybody has a budget, and budget is always important no matter what project you do. Budget is always a consideration. But if budget is the most important consideration for the client, if that's all they're focused on and they just want the cheapest or least expensive possible service, then we're not going to be a good fit for that client. So that's we have a bunch of screening questions that we ask, and we ask what's most important to you when choosing a contractor. You'll get things like communication, detailed contracts, good design, and budget. Sometimes budget comes first, and that's fine. And we'll even say to people, hey, if you do want to do this project a little bit less expensive, then maybe you would be better off, finding somebody who's a general contractor, somebody who you can go out and buy the tile and the cabinets and provide them to the contractor and say, here, install my stuff. We don't do that because we've found in the past that, at the end of the project, we own, the results of that project. So we want to purchase all of the tile and the cabinets. And if something's wrong with those items, then we're the ones that are calling the manufacturer or the vendor. Plumbing fixture, same thing. I mean, I have one of our designers, she could spend a whole day talking to a vendor or a manufacturer about some product that we installed and, getting it replaced or something that was faulty. There's so much time and effort that goes into even things like that, like a faucet.
There's the old saying, no good deed goes unpunished. So it's like, hey, can you install this for me? And well, I'm not going to make any markup on it. And in my experience, it's usually those things, those situations that end up in this seemingly never ending cycle of problems like, oh, well, this was discontinued, and oh, this caused a problem, and oh, there's a defect that caused a leak that messed up the vanity. And you have to get paid for that stuff.
Exactly. And that's, another way we find that a client may not be a good fit is if, they want it done tomorrow. I mean, obviously we want to be able to, get jobs in the pipeline and get them into, production as soon as we possibly can. But if you called me in October and say, I want my kitchen done by the end of November, then no, that's not, we can't properly plan out your kitchen in, 2 or 3 weeks. We've got to go in a little bit more detail than that. So that's another way is it's just, the unrealistic time expectations. And can you call up somebody and say, hey, let's go get cabinets off of the shelf or stock and just remove and replace? Sure. There's plenty of people out there that do that, but that's, those types of projects aren't really best for us.
Some people listening might struggle with the idea of saying no. They might be at a place in their business where they feel like they have to take every project and every client, and there is no bad client. There is no such thing as a bad dollar of revenue. What are some of the benefits, maybe the ripple effects that maybe aren't so apparent to saying no to the projects that are too small for you, to the clients who are not a great fit for you? What's the business case for saying no to less than ideal projects and clients? What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, one of the biggest things I think that became apparent to me is that when you take those projects that aren't ideal for you or the client that's not necessarily ideal, and you're in the middle of that project performing it. Now what they call it opportunity cost, right? Now you can't get to a project that would be great for you because you're stuck on this one that's not great for you. And the little projects, we do the occasional small project, but only for past clients. And when you're stuck on a bunch of, sometimes those little projects, there's hours and hours of just finding the material and then scheduling the work. And yeah, again, when you're working on stuff like that, you can't focus on the other types of projects. I'd be lying if I said one or two doesn't slip through once in a while that you kind of scratch your head and say, maybe we shouldn't have done this one. And then, just like anything else, you go back, you learn and try not to repeat the same mistake again.
So it sounds like referrals are a big part of your business. A lot of business comes to you through word of mouth. If you were designing a pre-construction and construction process to maximize referrals, what are a couple of the things you would really focus on at any point in the process to get as many good referrals as possible?
Making sure that everybody on your team is communicating with the client throughout the whole process, from the design through, when the work is actually being performed, and then following up. I think just having clear, continuous communication. I think that's been a key. And we've seen that. That's when clients refer us, is when we've done a good job with that. Then they're very, very eager to tell their friends and family about us.
If you guys use a software program, what do you use?
Recently, we just switched over to JobTread. So we've been using that for about a month now. We've got financial stuff in there. We're kind of working on some of that right now, but also daily logs, pictures. It's got the client portal in there. So just we used Buildertrend before, so it did a lot of the same things. So either one is probably good, depending on your business. But that's been an absolute game changer, just getting things in one place, especially the guys in the field taking pictures and, everybody being able to view a schedule and the budget, everybody being on the same page with the budget. So there's so many benefits to using tools like that.
Hey, it's Todd here, and I want to tell you about something new that we've launched recently. If you like this podcast and you'd like to connect with other like-minded construction business owners who listen to it so you can share ideas and share resources and best practices and network, if you'd like some access to exclusive content like Q&A calls and trainings from our team here, then you may want to go check out the Construction Leading Edge online community. It's brand new. This group is exclusively for construction business owners who want a profitable, self-managing business so they can have more time with their family, more profit, and more peace of mind. So if you're into leveling up as a construction entrepreneur, if you want to have more impact, if you're into creating wealth and personal development, then this is the place for you. Head over to constructionleadingedge.com/join, JOIN, to get all the details on the Construction Leading Edge community. That's constructionleadingedge.com/join. And I'll see you on the inside. Now, let's get back to the episode. I've seen some companies that are able to scale past a certain point without a project management system like JobTread, Buildertrend, a few other new ones out there, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult to grow a business when things are in different places. I'm a big fan of single source of truth. One place where everything lives, every picture, every communication, every selection, it's all in one place. Just when it's in more than one place, you just never really know what you're looking at, if what you're looking at is the latest and greatest. Yeah. So let's shift gears. You recently completed our Systematize Your Construction Business program. And I want to go back to a few months ago. I was looking at my notes from our initial call, and I want to talk about some of the challenges that you were dealing with when we talked a few months ago. What would you say were the biggest challenges you were dealing with that led you to reach out to us initially?
I think I mentioned in our first call that I have a really good team that wants to do wants to do great work, and hasn't always been clear to them, what you always say, what winning looks like, and what's expected of that. What are the biggest, most important things that they can be focusing on a daily basis in order to move the needle and to move the company forward. I think that was the biggest thing. There was a lot of, and still, we're still working on it, but ambiguity as far as who's supposed to do what, and what everybody's roles are, and what the steps look like in our pre-construction process. A lot of that stuff lived in different people's heads, my head and designer's head and a few other people's heads, where it wasn't clear for all to see, how we were getting through everything and what everything looked like. I've read a lot of the books and listened to a lot of podcasts. So I have a lot of this stuff swirling around in my head, but wasn't really focused as far as, how am I going to get everything into one place and kind of corral everybody so it's clear what everybody's supposed to be doing.
One of the side effects we hear a lot when it's not crystal clear who's doing what, there are details that fall through the cracks. There are people duplicating efforts where multiple people are doing the same thing, kind of stepping on each other's toes. Which of those, or maybe both, which of those were you dealing with because of that lack of clarity around who was responsible for what?
Definitely details falling through the cracks of, well, wait, I thought you were talking to that person. No, I thought you were talking to that person. And it's, when that kind of stuff is clear, it just makes it a lot easier for everybody to know what their role is and to be able to execute on their portion of the project.
I coached volleyball a few years ago, and I figured out that there was a specific situation that's a lot like a construction team. And it's when we were receiving the serve, the other team was serving at us. If the ball was hit directly to one of my back row players, no problem. It was obvious she was supposed to pass that ball. If the ball was hit in between them, in the seam, then usually what happened was they would just look at each other and the ball would hit the floor and just go right between them. And I remember being so frustrated, like, why don't you go get the ball? What would it take? I used my psychological Jedi skills on these girls, like trying to get them to go after the ball, but it wasn't their fault. They just both thought the other one was going to get it. So it wasn't clear who was covering the gap. And I think it's the same way in a construction project or a company. If something goes straight at somebody and it's clearly theirs, no problem. But if it's in the gap, then am I supposed to do this? Well, Dan did it last time, and then I think I did it the time before that, and I'm not really sure what happened the other time. And so what I found is it's not the people that are the problem, it's the gaps. And having these gaps in between people where it's unclear, am I supposed to deal with this? Am I supposed to order this? Am I supposed to tell the customer? Am I supposed to do this? That's really the issue. So clearing up the gaps is really the key. You may think your people are the problem if you're listening to this, but it's very likely that it's the gaps that are the problem. And that's our job as leaders to solve those gaps. I'm curious, how did that lack of clarity among your team, what were some of the ripple effects of that? How did it affect the team? How did it affect your projects where there was this, hey, I thought you were doing this, and this lack of clarity around roles and responsibilities? What were some of the ripple effects of that?
You get the occasional, a right-hand door was ordered instead of a left-hand door. And, somebody just went off of an order that a vendor, a vendor put together this quote, but on the drawings, it shows a right-hand door, but the vendor quoted a left-hand door. So, nobody checked to verify that the vendor's count was correct. So who does that fall on? That's one simple example, but there's been a few times that's happened. Other things, I think that's the biggest area is within design and estimating is, who's supposed to be double checking all of this stuff. And then, once in a while you get the client communication one where I thought you were reaching out to them. Well, no, I thought you were reaching out to them. So clearing that up of who's supposed to be the point of contact at what point in the job, because we have the handoff from sales and design to production. That communication shifts. The designer is no longer the primary point of contact. Now it's project manager, making sure that we know that, and making sure that the client needs to know that too, because it needs to be clear to them. Hey, this guy is now your point of, or this gal is now your point of contact, and not if you have a question about design, we can find out, but it's the designer is not your daily point of contact anymore. Tough to explain that sometimes, but it's you have to make that separation.
And how is that affecting your day to day? Were you getting pulled into firefighting mode? Were you reactive mode? Were you? How did the lack of clarity around roles and responsibilities and details falling through the cracks? How did that affect you on a day-to-day basis?
One of the things I've been working on the last couple of years is getting myself out of the fine details of the project, like the right and left-hand door. As an owner with a company that's growing a little bit, I can't be involved in that kind of stuff anymore. Somebody else has to be accountable for that type of thing. So that was one of the triggers that caused me to reach out to you guys. Was those are the types of things. And then my team is pretty good. They don't, interrupt me all day long. They'll send me an email or something like that, or a text message. Hey, do you know anything about this door? Or I know I keep picking on the door, but they would ask about that type of thing. So it's like, okay, well, yes, I can answer this question, but I don't want to keep answering this question. So how can we get to a point where somebody else is accountable for this, and that person can be asked that question? They can dig into those details, so shifting some of the things that I was involved in, shifting that to somebody else, because I have plenty of capable people that can do those types of things. So that's part of it too, is, from a leadership standpoint. I'm a technical guy. I like to solve problems. So if somebody comes to me with a problem, I'm like, oh yeah, let's, I want to jump right in and fix it. But that's not always what's best for everybody else. I can't always jump in and fix everything. So that's part of it is me, learning as a leader to coach people through solving the things on their own. And you guys say it all the time, right? The best person to solve the problem is the one closest to it. And I'm not the one closest to those problems anymore.
If there was anything that would fall into this category, what were some things you weren't able to spend as much time on as you would like because of the lower level details that you were getting pulled into?
The marketing and the sales side of things, as business grows, I never realized this before, but even though we get word of mouth referrals, you still have to do marketing. And there's a lot of effort and things that go into. I have people that do it, but just thinking about it and coming up with plans to execute on it, it's time consuming. And it's not something you can always just pass off to some external marketing company and say, here, do all my marketing. There has to be an interior approach of how you do that. So marketing, being able to build those relationships, because we're doing a lot of projects that are larger, and building know, like, and trust. It's time consuming. So me being able to focus more on that, building relationships with other architects or designers, people that we can do work with, that's something that's important that I could spend time, or even just, becoming a better leader in general, and being able to have the bandwidth to meet with my team members and say, hey, how you doing? What are you working on right now? How can, not solve your problems, but how can I help you to be more successful? When I'm getting pulled into project details, I can't do all those things, right?
So you joined our Systematize Your Construction business program. Take us back to the moment when you realized that the systems that you were implementing in your business were actually working to solve some of those challenges?
I think just, go like when we did the nail the handoff session, just going through that exercise of having the team kind of express verbally and then document how we do things. It's like I said, we do a lot of things pretty good, but it's in a lot of different areas. So just having everybody be able to contribute to that and, have their input of how we can make things better. I think that's huge. It's not just, top down coming from me of this is what we need to do. And just getting in that habit of, we did the first now the handoff meeting. Actually, we have the follow-up to that tomorrow. So being able to make that a continuous journey that we involve everybody in the company of improving things, because we have this version of it that is good, but there's going to be a version that's, we make little tweaks here and there. That's going to be better.
What surprised you about how your team responded to the Nail the Handoff team session? We get a lot of feedback from folks who are maybe a little trepidatious before getting their team together, not sure how their team will respond. Some people are surprised by how their team responds. I'm curious, was there anything that surprised you about how your team responded to that Nail the Handoff session?
For me, it was nice to see that they're starting for that type of thing. And it wasn't there before. So they were starving for clarity, starving to be able to contribute to writing our processes and being able to follow them. I think that's the thing too, is they're ready and willing. And once you kind of show it to them, they're like, oh yeah, great, let's go. Now that we're kind of still working through it, I don't have to drive the majority of it. I just kind of have to ask questions and maybe suggestions here and there, but the team is able to kind of write it on their own.
Hey, it's Todd here, and we have a couple of free resources that we want to get in your hands. First is our free training video, Get Out of Your Construction Business, How to Make It Run Without You This Year. Here's what you're going to get when you sign up for this free training video. You'll learn about the JETS thinking trap, which stands for just enough to start. That's probably keeping you stuck working in your business, and it keeps you stuck in firefighting mode, and it affects probably 90% of construction businesses. You'll also learn about the first few crucial steps you want to take if you want to spend more time working on your business instead of being stuck working in it. And you'll learn what nailing the handoff looks like and how it will help you eliminate 80% of your preventable schedule delays and profit bleeds. You can get your hands on that free video over at constructionleadingedge.com/get out. constructionleadingedge.com/GETOUT. And the second thing is a question. Here's a question. Is your business structured for success, or is it designed for failure? We found a study and found that there are 5 root causes of contractor failure, 5 primary reasons that successful contractors self-destruct. All right. This is information that we feel like every construction business owner should know about. You should know about it for 2 reasons. If you're a general contractor, 1, you need to find out if your business is structured for success. And if you're a general contractor and you have subcontractors, you may want to ask this question: are your subs structured for success or structured for failure? And if you would like to evaluate your business to see if it's designed for success, the next step is to apply for a business evaluation call with my team. We'll go through these 5 root causes of failure, evaluate your business, and then give you some pointers, highlight the red flags, the early indicators that you may want to focus your energy on. And if it makes sense, we can talk through the details of our Systematize Your Construction Business program that will ensure it is structured for success. If you would like to schedule your free business evaluation, go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY, or simply go to our website, constructionleadingedge.com, and tap the Apply Now button. Now, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, there seems to be a misconception that sounds something like, my people don't want to follow processes. My people won't follow processes. They don't want to be micromanaged. They're all free range ponies. They want to do their own thing. But what I found is that A players, they want to know what winning looks like, and they want to have some kind of a process to follow, right? So show me any professional athletic team that doesn't have a plan. Show me an NBA team that doesn't have an offense or a defensive scheme. Show me an NFL team that doesn't have a playbook, right? They have a process to follow, and A players like to follow processes. So it's good to hear that your team was starving for that. And this is something we hear quite a bit. People are surprised to find out, like, oh wow, my team has been looking for this. One of our clients who has a pretty large business, somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 million a year, after going through this nail the handoff session, one of his longtime superintendents pulled him aside and said, "Sean, we've been waiting for this. Like I've been waiting for this for a long time. So good job. This is exactly what we needed." What have been some of the more impactful changes that that you've seen in the business? What has had the most positive effects for you so far?
Everybody having a general overview of the journey and how we get from point A to point B, and in the specifically in the design and development process, and it not being just reliant on one or two people. Now everybody on the team that's involved in pre-construction has that overview. They can refer back to the document, and we made a flow chart that kind of goes along with our "this is how we do it" document that kind of outlines that, so all of us can look at that outline, and it's a lot of the ambiguity is gone, and that's they can refer back to that, and it doesn't things don't have to get lost in the cracks.
We should probably back up. We've used the term nail the handoff a couple of times, and there may be some folks listening for the first time who are like, what are we talking about? The handoff? Are we in the Olympic relay business? What's going on with this handoff? So how would you describe what nailing the handoff means in your own terms, Dan?
I guess a form of process mapping where you're doing a brain dump. Everybody's kind of saying things of how we get from point A to point B. You're laying it all out, and you're coming up with the game plan of how you're going to run the race, right? So it's how are we going to run the race, and how are we going to run it effectively, where we're not, I know the analogy is like a marathon, not a marathon, but a relay race rather. So that's how we're going to get this handed off in the best possible way, so that everybody in the field has the most possible information in order to build this project, in order, so we have a happy client, so we hit our budgets, and we don't have to get stuck with delays and things like that. How can we get as detailed as humanly possible in the pre-construction process and hand off the best information to the team that's going to perform out in the field?
Some people would push back and say, yeah, that's great, but my projects are all different. My customers are all different. We're a custom remodeler. We're a custom builder. And everybody's selections are different. Everybody's designer is different. Every project is so different. How could I possibly document my process? You're doing custom projects with different clients and different homes with different existing conditions. What would you say to people who believe that their projects are all too custom to have any sort of documented process for?
I think the framework is going to be the same no matter what type of project you're doing. So even if it's a small bathroom remodel, you want to have it all documented, where we're going through the design, we're going to get the floor plan correct. Then, once the floor plan is correct and the homeowner signs off on it, then we're going to work on selections like our tile and fixtures and things. Then we'll move on to, having our plumber and electrician out on the site to make sure he can get all the pipes from point A to point B. So it doesn't matter if you're doing a small project like that or a big project where there's 6 bathrooms and the whole place is getting gutted down to the studs and you're adding an addition. The general framework is still going to be the same. Maybe you just, in the bathroom remodel, you skip some of the steps that aren't necessary, but going through and listing those steps, you can say, okay, we don't need architectural drawings, fine. So we don't have to consult with an architect. We don't need structural design. So obvious, I think those things are obvious. You don't need all of that. But the general idea is still the same.
Every selection, every decision is going to be made. You just get to choose when it's made. In many cases, it's made at the last possible minute, or when somebody realizes, oh, crap, we forgot to select this, or we forgot to order this. So all of these things, every selection, every order, every activity is going to be made. We advise people to do is, instead of waiting until after the contract is signed and waiting until the project is in motion, push all of those decisions and selections and all of those what should be pre-construction steps into a pre-construction phase. It just makes life so much easier. And especially on big custom projects. So if you're listening and you're thinking your projects are too custom, Dan said it, they're not. And frankly, if you believe your projects are too custom to systematize or have a documented process, you're always going to be stuck in that technician role, always reacting to fires because you believe it's impossible. I guess what I'm saying is, if you're listening and that's what you think, then you're the problem. But the good news is you can solve that problem. We like to see results. We'd like to help our clients get results. What's different about your business now since going through the Systematize Your Construction business program? What results have you seen so far?
That my team is eager to be accountable for their part. So, for instance, with like the production manager, he's working on implementing some of the the most important things and 2-week look ahead. And we're going to do a company weekly team meeting, but he's using those tools from the 5-part leadership system in order to help the guys in the field perform better. Not only perform better, but just be able to have a better framework for what they're supposed to be doing day in and day out. And they can look at it and say, hey, all right, I know this is what my daily log is supposed to look like. I know that this is, the information that I'm supposed to be sending to the client weekly. I know this is what I'm supposed to be communicating with the project schedule. And just so, they all have a clear picture of what they're supposed to be doing day in and day out, because it's not just banging nails. It's, there's a lot more to it than that.
And speaking of day in, day out, I'm curious, what's different about your day-to-day schedule, either at work, outside of work? What is different for you now?
I think a lot of the communication has become more, not real time, but a lot of things can wait. So more asynchronous communication, a little bit less firefighting as far as answering stuff that likely can be solved by the person closest to it. Like we said, it's not, I don't have to be involved in every little decision. Most of the team members know what my general outlook on things are, and they can make decisions based on that.
You just finished up the program in the last month or so, I think. And so I'm curious, what are some results you're looking forward to seeing over the next 6 to 12 months that will come from the work that you're doing?
Getting the accountability chart refined and being able to meet with everybody individually to really hone in on the big 5 and being able to then measure results against those big 5 things that we establish, and have that as an ongoing conversation of, hey, this is what we established, this is what we talked about, this is what winning in your role looks like. How are we doing it with that? Not just pulling things out of the air.
If somebody were to ask you or call you and say, hey, Dana, I'm thinking about joining this Systematize Your Construction business program that I keep hearing about, but I'm not really sure, what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about joining this program?
It's an investment, just like anything else. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. I really like how you guys you've put everything in one place where, a lot of this, writing processes and systems for a business, you can read 1 million books about it and listen to a ton of podcasts, but I feel like you guys have done a great job of putting it all in one place where it's something that we can refer back to and say, okay, this is how we're going to write this process. This is how we're going to document this. This is where it's going to go. It gets you to really not only think about doing those things, but it gives you the framework to be able to put it in place and also be able to come back and revisit it and improve upon it. I think that's a big part of it. Design, build, remodeling company is not, it's not an ice cream stand, right? There's way more moving parts than I think quite a lot of businesses. And there's a lot of things that have to be captured. And if you don't do it in a systematic way, that's why a lot of contractors and firms, go out of business because they're not paying attention to things. And if you grow too quickly and you don't have systems and processes in place, then that's usually a recipe for failure.
Business is dynamic. People change. Customer needs change. So this is really a continuous improvement mindset. So a lot of our folks have asked the question, all right, when am I going to be done with improving my business? And I think when they ask that, like, hold on, let me take that back. Because the answer is you really never want to be done improving your business. And frankly, once you get a taste of it and you see some results, you want some more of it. It's like this flywheel. It's like, okay, we saw great results from the last few months. Now let's do it again. And let's go find another part of the process to improve. And how can we fix this? And how can we get it better? And it goes from maybe you have a truck that has it's missing on 2 cylinders. And then eventually you've got this race car that you're just fine tuning and you're just tweaking, making minor adjustments to, but you're constantly improving it. Back in 2011, when you started your business, what's one thing you wish you would have known back then that you think could have helped you the most as you started on your entrepreneurial journey?
I think really knowing what it costs to do a project, really knowing your numbers. I look back in some of those beginning years and I don't feel like I really knew my numbers that well. I didn't really have a great understanding of basic accounting principles or how to read a P&L or a balance sheet. So I think just having a basic understanding of those things and knowing exactly, I took estimating courses and things, and I had some experience in that, but really knowing how all the pieces go together is key. It can save you a lot of headache and heartache.
Go learn your numbers, learn the financial side of the business, learn the business side of the business first. Because if you don't understand the business side of the business, it really doesn't help. Doesn't matter how great you are at the construction side, because you just won't survive if you don't understand the business side of it. Good stuff. Well, Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to come on here and talk about your story and share about your experience. If folks want to follow you or connect with you, where are some of the best places or the best place for them to go?
Instagram is definitely a good place to see up-to-date projects and just communication. We've got a bunch of videos and things on there. So just, I guess, at Flansburg Construction. And then also our website, flansburgconstruction.com is a good place as well.
I will include those links in the show notes, or if you're watching this on YouTube, they'll be in the description below this video. So great stuff, Dan. I appreciate it. Congratulations on the success you've seen so far, and look forward to hearing about the results you're going to see as you start to see more and more projects go through a good pre-construction process and nailing the handoff, and as you guys continue to improve. So thanks so much, and we'll talk soon. Hey, it's Todd here. And one more thing before you go. Look, if you own a construction business and you want to put the right systems in place so you can either scale it up, maybe you want to step away from it, be able to take a proper vacation, maybe you want to sell it someday, maybe you just want to have more freedom, or maybe make it more profitable, or maybe you just want to get out of constant firefighting mode and make your phone stop ringing all the time. You really have 3 options if you want to make a meaningful change in your business. Option 1 is do nothing. Status quo, keep doing the same things, getting the same results. Option 2, you can DIY it. You can do it yourself. You can reinvent the wheel. You can read books, listen to podcasts, try to piece together a solution, use trial and error. Or option number 3, if you want meaningful change, is to find a proven system that delivers the results you're looking for. Sort of like if you use software for project management or for your bookkeeping, I assume you probably didn't try to code your own software. You found a proven system that delivered the results you're looking for, right? Well, if you're looking for a proven system to systematize your business, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners implement our systems in their business, specifically our nail the handoff pre-construction process in their business. It works for home builders, remodelers, commercial general contractors. It also works really well for trade contractors like electricians, concrete contractors, site, utility, plumbing. And it's part of our Systematize Your Construction Business program. So if you want to see what systematizing your business looks like, what nailing the handoff looks like, and the positive side effects that come with that, then the next step would be to schedule a free business evaluation call with my team. And you could do that by going to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, APPLY, or just go to our website, constructionleadingedge.com, and tap the Apply Now button. You'll learn about the 5-step process we've helped hundreds of people implement to systematize their construction business. Most importantly, you'll get an objective third-party evaluation of your business to answer one really big question. Is your business designed to fail, or is it designed to succeed? So let me ask you this. If your business was unintentionally designed to fail, when would you rather find out? Now, while there's time to do something about it, or later on when it's maybe too late? This business evaluation call is totally free. There are no strings attached, no pressure. And it could be the best hour you've spent working on your business in a long time. So our schedule fills up pretty quickly. So if you're interested, go over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, or go to constructionleadingedge.com and tap the Apply Now button to book your business evaluation call. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you got value out of this podcast. If you could take a moment, if you did, and leave a rating or a review, or share this with somebody who needs to hear it, I would appreciate it. Todd Dawalt from Construction Leading Edge. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.